Hey GAWDA members, what's going on? Welcome to the final GAWDA TV episode of 2021. Today's episode discusses something that all industries have had to deal with, and that's the driver shortage. We're joined first today by Mississippi Welder Supply Company President Scott Myran. Scott, we really appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me. It's great to talk with you again.
Scott, companies across our industry, and really across all of corporate America, are all having difficulty finding qualified CDL drivers. What do you think is driving that shortage of drivers, and is it something that you think will be resolved or at all alleviated in the upcoming years?
I think there's multiple factors that enter into the shortage of drivers that we're all experiencing. There's a large number of drivers who are retirement age, who are retiring. I think that's a fairly big component. There's some limitations on commercial drivers. Right now, 18 to 20-year-olds in several states can drive intrastate, but they can't drive interstate. And we'll touch more upon that later, but that's another untapped resource that could certainly up the head count. Other factors, I think we've been very fortunate to hire several very good drivers that came from over-the-road positions. And the over-the-road gig was just not appealing anymore. They'd like to be home every night or at least not be gone for weeks at a time. That factors into it. There can be a lack of respect for truck drivers, and that's not fair. Most drivers are very professional. Most drivers are very good at what they do, and they needed to be treated with the proper amount of respect. I think that would go a long ways. So off the top of my head, Steve, those are some factors we should consider.
Can you discuss what your company has done internally to alleviate the impact of the shortage?
We've been fortunate. We have a very good core group of people with commercial driver's license. We've been very fortunate to not have a great deal of turnover there. I can attribute that to we've upgraded most of our rolling stock. We have modern or not very old tractors on lease or straight trucks on lease, and we turn them. They're on relatively short lease periods. I'll also add on, we've bonused these guys and we've made sure our pay is competitive.
You had mentioned that you've got a great core group of drivers, but that many of them are approaching retirement age. How are you managing to find and recruit the available drivers that are out there?
We've been very fortunate with the driving staff that we have. They have friends who they refer to us, and we've been able to hire a fair number of very good drivers based upon the recommendation of people that they've worked with in the past. And that really goes a long ways. If someone is willing to vouch for a friend as a good, we're pretty confident right out of the gate that we have a good person, and we'll do whatever we have to do to hang on to them. Also, things that we're doing to recruit or gain new drivers. Stealing a page from Wally Brandt and Ned Lane, we've had business cards printed up, and Wally touched upon that at the GAWDA meeting in Colorado Springs.
As an industry, do you feel that there's anything that we can be doing better to become more attractive to drivers? As you mentioned, they certainly have options.
They certainly do have options, and that's where we need to treat everyone working with us with respect and with decency and decent, dependable vehicles or offices. Some truck drivers refer to their vehicle as the office that they work from. And I get that. You want comfortable digs to work from. Other things that we've tried to do to make life easier for our truck driving staff is eliminate as much uncertainty in the daily runs as we possibly can. There's always emergencies that come up, but if we can keep a schedule and stick to that, I know that's greatly appreciated. And just do it as much as we possibly can do it.
There are rule changes going into effect in February that will change the CDL licensing requirements. Do you think that those will have an appreciable impact on the shortage?
I think what's proposed to happen in February is going to make it more difficult to get a CDL. It adds another layer of barriers. One barrier is the time to do it. There's a certain number of hours that need to be spent on training. Hours equate to dollars, and it could be a monetary barrier for some people as well. So yeah, I get where we're going with better trained people, but I also see it as an impediment to gaining new drivers.
Is there anything else on this topic that you feel viewers should be aware of today?
On behalf of anyone with a commercial driver's license, as the majority of these people, they're very safety conscious. They have families, they have lives, they want to get home to every night, same as any of us do. Give these people room to navigate in and out of traffic. Give them a wide berth, respect what they're doing, and understand it's a whole lot harder to stop an 80,000-pound vehicle than it is the car that you're driving.
Scott, we appreciate your time and your input. Thank you so much for being with us today, and have a great holiday. We've got a great show lined up with more great interviews and news from across the industry. Plus, make sure to stick around for the end of the show as GAWDA members spread their holiday cheer, including holiday cards and a delicious Christmas martini recipe from Welded's Hector Villarreal. But before all that, a message from today's presenting sponsor, SafTCart. We're joined next today by GAWDA's DOT consultants Mike Dodd and Rick Schweitzer. Gentlemen, we appreciate the time. You've both discussed the CDL licensing changes that will go into effect in February. Can you explain exactly what is changing and why GAWDA members should do their licensing and renewals before then?
The big change is going to be that anytime a driver wants to get a new license, a new CDL, or they want to upgrade an existing, like from a B to an A, or as Rick reminds me often, I tend to forget it, but I'm getting better. If they want to get a brand new hazmat that they've never had before, a brand new hazmat endorsement, the rule is going to require that as of February the 7th of next year, they're going to have to go over to a DOT certified, approved, in the database type school. And we all know that's going to amount to a lot of money. It's going to be based on whether it's a Class A or a Class B. I don't think the endorsement will be a lot of money because it's probably going to be just a test and a little bit of schooling. But we don't know those prices yet, and we don't know who they are. I've had members trying to find the list of the certified schools already. Apparently the database is not up and running yet. I mean, it's there's a link, but nothing happens when you click it. So I'll let Rick talk about that portion of it.
As Mike said, these new regulations go into effect on February 7th. And you have to use, you being a driver, you have to use a training provider who has self-certified that they're in compliance with the DOT requirements and are listed on the training provider registry, which is supposed to be connected to the FMCSA's website. There is a list of certified training providers. Now, these can be motor carriers, they can be companies like GAWDA members, distributors who operate their own truck fleets. They can be vocational technical schools. They can be for-hire truck driver training schools. Pretty much anybody who complies with the FMCSA training curriculum standards can be a training provider. But as Mike said, you have to complete the entire curriculum, which would involve both classroom and some behind the wheel training before you are eligible to get either a new CDL, an upgraded CDL, or a hazmat endorsement. And once the driver completes the training course, then the training provider will upload that information to the state driver licensing agency where the driver is located. And then once the state receives that information, the driver can then apply for a CDL or an upgraded CDL or the hazmat endorsement. Now, Mike mentioned the cost, and we don't know all of the curriculum costs yet, but I did see one online course listing that was a complete course, and it was about $5,000. So it's not just the time, it's the expense. And then there's the question of who pays for that. I know how difficult it is to find drivers already. And if someone who wants to get into this industry looks at an initial $5,000 expense just to get licensed, that's going to be a barrier to entry. So it looks like something that companies might have to pick up. I don't know. But that was just one example, and I'm sure there are others that will be more or less than that. The other thing to keep in mind is that this doesn't apply to anybody who currently has a CDL or a hazmat endorsement. So even next year, after February 7th, if your drivers have to renew their CDLs or if they have to renew their hazmat endorsements, this training requirement will not apply to them. So the point that we've been trying to make is that if you want to get a new CDL driver or get a new endorsement, do it before February 7th. You'll save yourself time and money.
You mentioned the added expense that drivers and companies are going to incur. We're already dealing with a driver shortage in the industry. Do you think that these changes will have a tangible impact on the issue that we're already facing?
Yes, in fact, we've already seen that. This is an added expense. It's an added regulatory burden, both on the drivers and ultimately on the companies that are trying to employ them. I'm seeing it not just with welding gas distributors, but throughout the trucking industry and anyone who is involved in delivery or distribution. There's already a critical driver shortage, and this is simply going to make it worse. Companies are having a terrible time finding trained, qualified drivers, and these additional requirements and the expense are coming at absolute worst possible time.
I want to echo exactly what Rick has said there. I talk to a lot of members on a daily basis as I travel about, and it's really a toss-up between which is the hardest to get right now. People who work in the plant, people who work in the docks, or drivers, and there's a shortage all the way around. And I can't imagine where doing these extra things and these extra school and these extra certifications is going to help that. Now, we're keeping our fingers crossed, and I know Rick watches for this. We're hoping that this is going to get delayed, but there's been no signs whatsoever of a delay. So we're advising members, just beware. Count on this happening February the 2nd. And as Rick's already said, one of the things that we keep saying over and over is if you need to get a new driver, upgrade a driver, get through things, please do that now while you can.
So now that the infrastructure bill has been passed through Congress, what impact do you think that will have on GAWDA members?
Besides the obvious benefits of having lots of new money to repair roads and bridges, there are a number of mandates in the infrastructure bill for new studies and new research that I think ultimately are going to affect and to a large extent benefit distributors. There is a study required on the impact of and safety of self-driving vehicles. There is a study on marijuana impaired driving and the possible creation of a marijuana-related clearinghouse for drivers. There's another study that's required on CDL driver compensation and the effect that compensation has on safety and driver retention. There is also a requirement that the FMCSA update its crash causation study for heavy trucks, which looks at what human and equipment related causes there are for heavy truck crashes and should be the basis for both companies to use in their safety programs and for the agency to use in their rulemakings going forward. And then finally, there is a requirement for the Department of Transportation to do a 3-year pilot study on a vehicle miles traveled tax and whether or not that can be used to replace the fuel taxes. There's actually already research underway by a number of states on the East Coast looking at the feasibility and how you would implement a vehicle miles traveled tax. But as we get away from vehicles that are fueled by diesel and gasoline and go more towards an electric fueled fleet, we're going to need an alternative method of taxing those vehicles, because using a fuel tax is going to generate less and less revenue. So probably in the next long-term highway bill 5 years from now, we're going to see a switch from a fuel tax funding mechanism to a vehicle miles traveled tax mechanism. And they're beginning the analysis that will allow them to make that change now.
Guys, thank you so much for your time and your input. We always love having you on.
CHART's new Orca VHP delivery system provides the capability to fill tanks operating at pressures up to 500 psig, eliminating the need for costly and time-consuming tank blowdowns. Coupled with our existing automated fill system, this new pump technology allows faster delivery times without interrupting ongoing facility operations. These advantages lead to greater flexibility in scheduling and more deliveries per day.
Today's member news segment is brought to you by Anthony Welded Products, 4 generations strong since 1958. GAWDA hosted its annual industry analysis webinar on December 9th. The annual webinar is designed to help GAWDA members understand and use the ITR Economics Report. If you were unable to attend, visit the GAWDA.org members only page to view a recording of this year's webinar. Meredith Gas Partners welcomes Tulsa Gas and Gear to the Federation. As part of the transaction, Don Stobaugh and Lloyd Heil will retire, while Steve Stobaugh will become the company's president. Johnny Stamps and John Scott will become vice presidents of sales and operations, respectively. Nikiso Cryogenic Service moved to a newly renovated facility in Houston, Texas. Plug Power completed its acquisition of Cryo Technologies. Taylor Wharton's chairman and CEO Eric Rotier was named one of the board of directors for IOMA. Metal Impact was recognized by Oxigo for their extraordinary performance during the COVID-19 pandemic. Metal Impact was able to provide Oxigo with oxygen cylinders when another supplier was unable to do so on time. The CGA launched its Hydrogen Safety is Step 1 campaign, designed to showcase the importance of safety standards for emerging hydrogen technologies. Rich Linder, Midwest Regional Sales Manager for Kaplan Industries, is retiring. Rich has spent more than 20 years with the company. We wish him well in his retirement. Succeeding Rich as Midwest Regional Sales Manager is Jeff Eisen, who's been with Kaplan for over 18 years. Chart Industries announced a partnership and commercial agreement with Hylium Industries to design and produce liquid hydrogen trailers for the Republic of Korea. North American Helium announced that it had raised $127 million to accelerate growth. The company also announced that it had appointed David Allen to the role of Executive Vice President of Exploration and Planning. Finally, GAWDA would like to welcome new member Giant CO2 to the association. We look forward to seeing you at future GAWDA events. To view more about any of these member news items or to submit member news of your own, be sure to read the entire December 15th GAWDA Connection in your inbox today or by clicking the link in the description below.
Cavagna Group's new 6000 series high-pressure regulators for cutting and welding applications offer the highest performance and longest service life in the industry. Cavagna Group, wherever gas is used, we are there.
Finally, we're joined today by GAWDA Executive Director John Ospina. John, thank you for being with us again today.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
With 2021 in the rearview mirror now, what would you say was the biggest highlight of the year for GAWDA?
The biggest highlight for us was really the participation in our face-to-face meetings. We were really happy to see a number of attendees that came to our spring management conference and the participation that we had in our annual meeting. And we're looking forward to having that trend continue in 2022 when we start our national meetings and our regional meetings.
How do you plan on building on that momentum going into 2022? And what are you most excited about going into the new year?
So what we're really excited about is all of our offerings that we're going to have for 2022. Let's start off with our national meetings. Our spring management conference is going to be in Indianapolis over April 3rd to the 5th. We have 3 educational tracks that are going to be presented at that spring management conference. We'll have 9 breakout sessions. Those sessions were very well attended in the SMC of this year. So we're continuing that trend for 2022. You'll be able to see the full session titles and the speaker lineup when we open registration in late December. And then our annual convention is going to be in San Diego That's going to be over October 5th through the 8th. And the last time we were there was in 2015. So we're really excited to go back to this really popular destination. When it comes to our regional meetings, we currently have 5 regional meetings that are set up. Our Southwest regional meeting in Texas is going to be in April. Our Northeast regional meeting in New Jersey is going to be in May. Our Midwest regional meeting, also known as Seven Springs, is going to be in June. And then our Northwest regional meeting in Washington State will be in July. And our Central regional meeting in Maumee Bay, Ohio will be in August. And then GAWDA is going to continue to provide online training and informative webinars as we go through 2022. We're going to continue to have the monthly Safety Manager Safety Meeting. We're taking part in a cross-industry compensation study in 2022. And later that year, when the compensation study is completed and the information is released to our members, we're going to hold an HR webinar explaining how to best use that information for the various job functions in our industry. We're also putting together some additional webinar offerings for 2022, and we'll have more information on that as we go into the new year.
You're also in the midst of the 2022 membership renewal process. Is there anything you want to say to GAWDA members about the renewal process?
Get your renewal in as soon as possible. That really helps us to fund all of these events and webinars that we do for you in 2022. We're also going to have an earlier cutoff period. So anyone that is not renewed, 60 days into 2022, unfortunately, your services get cut off. It also, if you renew early, will give you an opportunity to save 5% on a late fee after December 31st. So, get your renewals in. It really helps us a lot. Gives us all of the funds that we need to get you the information and the programs that you need.
Are there any other messages you want to leave members with before we leave today?
So we want to just thank our members for all of their support that you've given us these past 2 years. It's been a tough 2 years, but our members have hung in there with us, and they've really shown us that this association is meaningful to them. We want to wish everybody a happy holidays, and we look forward to seeing all of you in 2022.
John, thank you again for being with us today. Happy holidays. Before we go, I just want to remind viewers that our first quarter issue of Welding and Gases Today is our forecast issue. Thank you to the members who've already participated. I encourage all GAWDA members to take the quick survey in the description below to help forecast what the industry will look like in 2022. As we close out our last episode of the year, I just want to send a big thank you to all of the GAWDA members who've been interviewed this year and who have watched every episode. We can't thank you enough. Before we go, stay tuned to see holiday cards and messages from your fellow GAWDA members. On behalf of everyone here at GAWDA TV, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you next year.
Hello, I'm Hector Villarreal. I'm home today, but I wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I wanted to do so by providing you with a gift from me to all of you. I wanted to share with you a special holiday cocktail that's easy to make and is, if I may say so, delicious. Now, for me and those who know me, they know that my drink involves a rock glass, a rock, some sort of whiskey or bourbon, perhaps a scotch, and there you have it. And during the holidays, I really let my hair down by adding a festive ornamentation to my cocktail. But today, I am going to kick it up a notch by showing all of you how to make a delicious Christmas martini. Now, we'll need the martini glass, some decorative sugar, in this case, Christmas blue. We're gonna take our martini glass, we're gonna take a lime wedge, and we are going to coat the exterior, not the interior, the exterior of the martini glass. And we wanna get the lime juice on there very liberally. And then we're going to coat the rim of the martini glass with the blue sugar. Now, for a margarita, it is fine to do that. But for this particular drink, we don't want the sugar in the glass. We don't want it to affect the cocktail that we're gonna pour inside of it. So we're just gonna pat the blue fine granules on the exterior of the glass to give it a festive look. I think you can all agree that's very nice. And then we're gonna take our mixer here. I've already added ice, and I'm gonna take the old bartender's friend here as a measuring device, and I'm gonna add vodka. Now, there's lots of vodkas out there. Whatever is your favorite, go ahead and use that one. I'm partial to Belvedere, so that's what I'm using today. So it's 2 parts vodka, 2 of these. And then we have cherry brandy. And again, there's many, many different types of cherry brandy out there. It is 1 part cherry brandy. I like this brand because it has a wonderful aroma and it almost adds a texture to the cocktail that makes it really smooth and pleasing to the palate. And then we're gonna add just some good old Rose's sweet lime juice, just a splash. Some people like a little more, some people like a little less. And then we're gonna cover this, shake it up. When you feel the exterior of the shaker get icy in your hands, you know that the interior obviously has to be icy as well. Keep in mind that when we were shaking this up, we've created somewhat of a vacuum, so you want to be careful. Open it up, and then we pour the contents, and it looks absolutely perfect. And again, because it's the holidays, we want to add a little more festivity to the cocktail. So we're going to take some raspberries and make a little raspberry Christmas tree. And we're just going to drop that bad boy right in there. Little garnish. And there you have it. The world's most perfect Christmas martini. It is sublime, it is delicious, and it goes down far, far too easy. On behalf of everyone at Welcoa, from our family to yours, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays. God bless everyone.